Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to be discussing the 8 things that I'm struggling most in life with right now. We wanted to film this video as a means to kind of bring a little bit more realness to the channel in terms of things that I am struggling with, things that are included in what it means to live well with schizophrenia. And beyond that, we want to show that not everything that I'm struggling with is centered around schizophrenia. Yes, these things may be exacerbated by having schizophrenia or by living with schizoaffective disorder, but I'm struggling with some things that everyone may be struggling with. And so hopefully maybe you might relate to some things on this list. Welcome back to the Living Well with Schizophrenia channel. My name is Lauren and I make videos about what it's like living with schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia on a daily basis. If you want to see more videos like this one, make sure to subscribe so as not to miss any of our future content. And also, if you would like to help support the creation of future videos like this one, make sure to check out the link to our Patreon page. It's in the description below. Okay, so starting off the list of things I'm struggling with right now, I think the thing that's at the forefront of my mind right now in terms of things that I'm struggling with or dealing with right now is pregnancy. I'm pregnant right now, and so that comes with its own unique set of challenges and struggles. So I've been feeling really, really tired, and that's been hard to manage and deal with, especially with different life commitments, keeping up with the YouTube channel, keeping up with kids. It's been kind of hard navigating how tired I've been feeling. I've been really fortunate not to have other symptoms such as morning sickness or that kind of thing, which I'm very grateful for, but tiredness has been a big thing to contend with. I've also been a little bit uncomfortable. I've had pains in my pelvis region and my back and my groin, and I think that's just part of my body changing with pregnancy, but it's been a little bit hard to deal with because it's been quite painful. I think there's a lot of anxiety that also comes with being pregnant for anyone who's pregnant, but especially I guess when you're living with a mental illness like schizophrenia, there are added challenges, and that's kind of something that I've been struggling with. Also, tied into the tiredness is that my sleep has been really disrupted, and sleep is something that's really, really important for me in terms of taking care of myself and keeping well. And so when that's disrupted, it kind of throws everything a little bit out of whack, and it makes me struggle with other things a little bit more as well. So number 2 and number 3 on my list kind of have to do with what's happening right now with the global pandemic. So I'm having a lot less interactions with my friends and family, and just a lack of social interactions has been kind of hard to deal with and something that I am definitely struggling with. I think especially when going through a major life change such as pregnancy, you want to be connecting with the people in your life and reaching out with the people in your life. And likewise, going through a major trauma such as what we're all going through right now with this pandemic, you want to be leaning on the people in your life and you want to be reaching out to the people in your life. And that's kind of something that's not really allowed right now, or not something that we're not really supposed to be doing right now, so as to reduce the risk of spreading the disease. And so that's been kind of hard to deal with. And I think that that's something that a lot of people are dealing with. And I'm seeing a lot of people in my life having more problems with their mental health as a result of everything that's going on with the pandemic right now. And that's been kind of hard to deal with. And then tied into this, number 3 is anxiety over exposure. So, even before I was pregnant, I was worried about contracting COVID-19 at the grocery store or, whenever we happen to have to go out of the house. And that's been a fear and an anxiety that I think a lot of people share. And, cases are going up where I live right now, and that's anxiety inducing. And then when you add in being pregnant on top of this, I'm even more fearful of contracting COVID-19 just because I don't know how it would affect the baby or me as a pregnant woman. And so there's an added level of anxiety around that right now. Number 4 on my list is parenting. So I am pregnant, but we also have 2 older children. And we have been doing online schooling with them, which has been a challenge to adjust to and whatnot, and to figure out how to do in the most effective way. Also, they've been home a lot more because they're not going to school and we can't really take them out anywhere, or we can't have them socialize with their friends or that kind of thing because of the pandemic, which has been really hard on them. And so not only are they struggling with this lack of social connection, like I was mentioning I am, but also we're spending a lot more time together. And so this has been hindering productivity for Rob and I in terms of when we have the kids. It's very hard to get anything done in terms of work or life stuff or anything other than taking care of the kids, which has been kind of a struggle. Also, I think spending more time together, you're more aware of how your relationship is going. And so I think there's been more anxiety or struggle around worrying that we are raising the kids in a good way and making sure that we're raising good people. And, I think we are. I think the kids are really great and I think we're doing a good job, but that is something that I'm struggling with. I think that every parent can kind of relate to that in terms of, just wanting the best for your kids and struggling with whether or not you are providing the best environment for them to become the best people they can be, or whether or not you're nurturing them to the best of your ability or the fullest capacity that you would like to. And I think just all that kind of stuff, worries and struggles around parenting. And then to kind of go along with parenting is that we have co-parents as well. And so, keeping up communication with them has been something that I've been struggling with a little bit too lately in terms of, just not having as much time now that school has started to connect with them and share information about the kids and whatnot, because we drop the kids off to each other's houses right before school on Monday morning. So there's not really that time to connect. And so struggling with issues around parenting, struggling with not having enough communication with co-parents, and trying to make it all work. To that same effect around struggling a little bit with communication is number 5, where I'm kind of struggling in my relationship a little bit with establishing really healthy communication. And this is kind of something that I've always struggled with, and I think it is something that schizophrenia plays a little bit of a role in terms of my ability to effectively communicate with my partner. I think especially then when you throw in another circumstance or experience into the mix, like pregnancy, and you have another kind of obstacle you're trying to tackle together, it creates another layer of communication that you need to be open to. And so that has been a bit of a struggle, trying to figure out how to balance all that and what is the best level of communication, what is the best way to communicate with each other and that kind of thing, and figuring out how to approach struggles together as a united team. I think that's something that is going to be kind of a lifelong process. And I think that anyone who's in a long-term relationship can kind of attest to that, where you are always kind of growing and evolving with your partner and figuring out the best way to tackle life together. The 6th thing that I'm struggling with at the moment is staying active. So especially it's getting really cold where we are. And so that kind of is eliminating the amount of things that I can do to stay active. And also, COVID happening right now is also reducing the amount of things that I can do to stay active. I was going to the gym before COVID. I was involved in different kind of like extracurricular stuff before COVID that I'm not comfortable with doing now that COVID is here and happening and whatnot. So I have been, before I found out that I was pregnant, I was getting more into cycling and trying to keep up with running and whatnot. And then when pregnancy happened, I lost all energy and will to do anything active, which was unfortunate for about the first trimester. So that was a struggle. And I think that took a toll on my mental health, not being as active. So when I started to get more energy in my second trimester, I began to start trying to get back into running again. And that did wonders for my mental health. And so figuring out ways to stay active and to stay healthy in that regard has been a bit of a struggle, but really trying to keep that up as much as possible. Number 7 is motivation. So I think it's hard to say whether this is just something that I'm struggling with on my own, or if this is a result of schizophrenia, or if maybe just schizophrenia exacerbates the level of motivation I'm able to muster for any given task. But especially I find that I'm having reduced motivation at times around work and around keeping up with the YouTube channel. And it's hard to stay on task with preparing for the videos, planning them out, scripting them out, and then actually getting ready to record them and recording them. And then Rob does most of the editing, so that's kind of nice. I don't have to worry about that too much. But you know, there's a lot of steps involved in terms of getting a video out, and it's hard at times to muster the motivation to actually carry out each of those steps and to stay motivated with the work that we're doing. I'm fortunate that the impact of our work is pretty clear, and so that I can kind of derive motivation from oftentimes, but it is definitely something that I'm struggling with. And I think that, given the weird times we're living in right now, I think that motivation is probably something that a lot of people find themselves struggling more with lately. And the 8th thing that I'm struggling with right now is kind of just keeping up with life. And this is kind of something that I kind of ebb and flow with in terms of how much I struggle with, but it's hard sometimes for me to keep up with the daily events of living life, like paying bills or keeping up with various commitments, or, keeping up with cooking and cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And just keeping up with life in general can be a struggle at times. And I think that, schizophrenia exacerbates this a little bit in terms of not having the best executive functioning for a lot of these tasks. But again, I think this is something that everyone kind of struggles with to a certain degree or to a certain extent. And, it helps to have someone in my life, my partner, who kind of helps to keep me accountable and helps to keep me on track. And yeah, just trying to do the best I can, trying to keep up with life. So that wraps up the list of the major things that I'm struggling with in life right now. Again, we kind of just wanted to make this video because sometimes I worry that, the way I present in the videos paints a picture of just extreme wellness all the time. And, the name of the channel, Living Well with Schizophrenia, indicates that, you can live without struggles and you just live well with schizophrenia. But I think that sharing these struggles helps to create a more nuanced and a better picture of what it actually means to live well with schizophrenia. I think everyone on this planet goes through their own struggles, and that is going to include people who are living well with a mental illness. And it's also important to know that not all of your struggles are going to be revolving around your mental illness or around schizophrenia. And a lot of the struggles that you are going through are kind of universal struggles that a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people go through regardless of if they're experiencing a mental illness such as schizophrenia or not. And yes, schizophrenia can kind of interplay with some of these struggles and can exacerbate them, or maybe even protect you from some of them in some instances. And so just kind of understand that, yes, I have schizophrenia and I identify with the concept of living well with schizophrenia, but that doesn't mean that I'm immune to any struggles. And that doesn't mean that living well with schizophrenia doesn't include human struggle and include struggle to do with schizophrenia, to not do with schizophrenia, and just, it comes with ups and downs, and navigating that and learning how to manage those struggles, I think, is where living well with schizophrenia comes into play. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it helped you in some way, either if you could relate to some of the struggles that I was experiencing, or if it helped you to feel less alone in your own struggles. If you want to support the creation of future videos like this one, just a reminder to check out our Patreon page. The link is in the description below. Also, make sure to subscribe so as not to miss any future content. Thank you so much again for watching, and as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health. See you in the next video. Bye.